Welcome to the Eclectic Gamers Podcast. Today is Sunday, December 11th. This is episode 182. I am Tony.
I'm Dennis. We've been so busy.
We have.
What's been going on?
Life. That's true. It feeds on life, don't you know?
Yes, I do now know. I guess actually what I should do is open with Patreon, thanking our Patreon members. Remember, you can always join the Patreon at Eclectic Gamers Podcast at, no, that's not right. You can join it at patreon.com/eclectic_gamers. I got a little too cute with saying it like the email address. Anyway, we have had a number of people join us since the last episode. We thank you all so very much. In fact, we are recording on new audio equipment thanks to the support and the power of Patreon. So actually, I had someone comment on our EGP Facebook when I showed a picture of this. We're using the Zoom PodTrack P4, which is I think it's been out for a couple of years now, but I didn't know anything about Zoom other than the totally separate company that does web conferencing software.
Right, yeah.
And I had several people say they love Zoom products, that they work really, really well. I had someone else actually say they were really excited to actually see someone that did Patreon that actually demonstrably bought something that was related to helping the show. And as they put it, not just using it for date night.
Well, I mean, we've talked about it often enough. We've done most of our work through a virtual mixing board, and that has had limitations. We've had issues in the past with audio dropouts. We've had times where we've had to make fairly decent edits or even some re-records to deal with it. And the sound issue is something we've always tried to have a pretty decent sound with, and hopefully this will just make things better.
That's my hope. And we're using dynamic mics now. I actually have two more. I also have two more condenser mics that are XLR that I got. So because this can support 4 people, which we have actually, I think we've gone as high as 5 people in person one time. We did that one time.
I thought we had 6.
Did we? There was the one E3 EGP.
Nope, it was
episode
5. It was 5.
Where I remember having 5 around the table. So this can support 4 mics, which again, when we looked at a lot of mixing boards, you got to go really big usually to get, because most of the boards are like designed for DJs and they only maybe want 2 mic inputs, and they're mostly using other things to do the wiki wow.
Right.
So anyway,
the extra stuff.
Yeah, and so this was a lot more approachable and small. I'd say it's a bit bigger than a smartphone, much thicker, but like lengthwise, it's not quite pocket size, but smaller than a tablet.
Yeah.
So anyway.
I would, you know what? I would say it's just a hair smaller than like a Kindle.
There you go. Okay. Yeah.
But much thicker.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Because we got to get those XLRs in there somewhere.
Yeah.
So anyway, so thank you very much. We do appreciate it, and we hope that the sound quality rewards you. I've tested the equipment before, but I haven't gone through and done a full edit. Like I went and I did do some compression and dynamic adjustments and stuff to see how the multi-tracks work. Right. That's another thing that the virtual mixing board would not do for us. The struggle that we had was, for those that are curious about the sausage making, is even with all the audio, we had to balance it as much as possible through the mixing board because it all came out as one track, which in theory, because we're looking at meters, just like I can see meters now and I can hear you now. I had the visual meters, and we would do like a little record snippet, just see how we sounded. But of course, the problem was with the virtual mixing board is there was latency if you put headphones to it. So we couldn't listen to ourselves like we are right now. So if, for example, and I'm the only one who could see it because it's on my computer. So if Tony moves away from the mic, he doesn't know he's away from the mic anymore in a way that like right now we're using headphones, and because there's no latency, and he can hear that he can hear himself.
Right. So, I can now hear the difference between this and the difference between this.
Right.
Which is quite a noticeable difference.
Right. And so then you're like, oh yeah, no, I've gone too far away. So I either need to lean forward or I need to move the microphone closer, because these are very, they need to be about 6 inches is the size distance that they recommend for dynamic mics for this sort of stuff. But when you're not monitoring, it's easy to all of a sudden forget that, oh wait, I'm moving around.
Right.
Because I do, like on a Zoom call, I move around all the time. I don't think about it.
Right. Well, and that's the thing. It's like I'm a hand talker. Same way when I'm doing like public speaking, I like to move. I like to walk around and talk with my hands and stuff. That's just how I am. And even when I'm recording, I tend to move around. I'll look with different directions. I'll look at different things. My head bobs and stuff. And it's always, so there's always some stuff. We'll see how it goes. Mm-hmm. I'm very excited.
Yes, I'm hopeful. So anyway, so that's what we've done with the support that we've had thus far. And as I noted, I needed to thank all of the new Patreons like we like to do. So at the high support tier, that's the $10 a month tier that we offer, Mike has joined the Patreon. And then one of our Patreon subscribers, Rodney, upgraded from the intermediate tier to the high tier.
Well, so thank you very much.
Thank you for that. We have 3 new intermediate tier individuals, Ari, Chris, and Rick. And we actually had someone do a custom pledge. I didn't even know that was possible.
I didn't either.
I had to go and look because I was confused because I saw it and his name is Avon. I hope I pronounced it right. I think he's from a Scandinavian country. So that's at least the money came from like in a Scandinavian country. I think it was Norwegian. So I think it's pronounced Avon. Feel free to write in if I am incorrect. But yeah, if you actually go to subscribe and you see the tiers, you can actually scroll down and there's a custom pledge option. And so I had to check to make sure that custom pledge people, because they don't fall into a tier, like, do they get the stuff? Like, can they read the Patreon? They can. As long as I don't assign it to a specific tier, all patrons can read it. So, and that's how we have done everything we share. And I've had a lot of posts about, two with a lot of comments, I should say, about Scooby Doo recently on the Patreon. Yeah. So, which, by the way, Tony hasn't read those because the way it's all set up, there's only the one administrative account. So he'd have to sign in as the EGP account, which I can get you that information so you can do it. Because it's tied to the EGP.
Yeah, because I was going to either that or my other thought was I might just go.
Are you going to be a supporter?
Become a patron of myself.
I'll have to thank you.
I will pay myself.
Just talk to yourself.
To talk to myself.
Yeah.
Well, they give me access, and that way we can keep things separate between which one of us is the one talking.
I've thought about just going in so I could put things in under my name instead, because I'm signing everything. So right. I'm trying. I don't every comment, but I sign like all the posts so they know. Oh yeah, Dennis wrote this because they want to blame someone.
But you forget sometimes.
So they know.
No. So no. I just need to do that. I just haven't set up an account with them yet.
Mm-hmm. So that's what I've been doing with my time, was working on all of this. But what have you been playing? Anything?
I've been playing with games. Well, actually, like normal, most of my stuff has been work related. We've been dealing with a lot of projects lately. So that's what most of my time has actually been geared towards. But I have re-entered the dark times. Let's go with that. I re-entered the dark times. I downloaded last weekend World of Tanks and have begun playing again. I've not played World of Tanks in like 6 years. And I did not realize how long ago I originally signed up for World of Tanks. So when I signed back in, I received a bunch of stuff that had gathered up on my account over the years that I hadn't logged in, which included a bunch of gifts that are based around how long you've played. So I got all these gifts, all these extra tanks, all this extra special stuff. And then I also got a bunch of special things I could put on my account, like emblems and stuff, because I fell into the class of player known as a beta tester, because I beta tested World of Tanks back in 2011.
Oh, wow.
So that was kind of a surprise to me. So I've been getting back into that. I have successfully gotten to the point where I've had people yell at me and tell me that I need to learn how to play, and I don't know how to play. And then I'm a terrible person. And then when the match ends, I had 10 times their damage caused because I'm the one who doesn't know how to play.
Wow.
I'm pretty sure that if I hadn't muted I'm pretty sure the guy probably let me know that he slept with my mother at some point. But
so did all the old Overwatch 1 players transition over to World of Tanks?
No, I think it's just the people that have always traditionally been there.
Oh, has it always been a toxic place?
It's not been, there's always been a few people. In all honesty, it's nowhere near as toxic as Overwatch ever was. Even back when I played before, it wasn't near as toxic as Overwatch got. You were far more likely to see people telling you, good luck, have fun, blah, 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 than you would to have the people calling out bad stuff. They're definitely the minority of the group overall. I've also been playing some Warhammer 40K Battle Sector that I picked up during the last big Steam sale. It's like a XCOM-ish Warhammer game. So it's been a lot of fun. I like that style game. It doesn't feel to be quite as RNG hates you as XCOM is traditionally, but it's been fun. If you like 40K and you like XCOM style games.
Cool. All right. Well, I've still been working on Far Cry 6 and doing some over. I've taken Fall Guys out of rotation. They've started their third season. Now, I did not buy the pass this time because I was having too many dailies. Right. I was feeling obligated. Like Overwatch has daily, which you usually can get done within 3 quick play matches. So that one's not too bad. But with Fall Guys could add another hour because they got to the point where they were not giving everyone the same dailies. So if I wanted to do it as a group, everyone would have different dailies, and it'd be like, okay, so we're going to work on everyone's dailies. How many of them are solo? How many of them are... Anyway, didn't really matter. I got my adorable little xenomorph skin, so it's fine.
You got what you were after. You got yours. You're done now.
I got that one like near the very start. And then I went and got the stupid like DJ kitty cat outfit, which I don't like.
Why not?
Because it's just too adorable. Like I want him to look like Dorky. You
don't like cuteness, Dennis.
I don't. Apparently, not for Meku dress up. That's for sure. So you know what's not sad? The pinball section.
Are you sure about that?
Well, we're gonna get into that.
Okay.
Always exciting.
Very exciting.
Always gives us something interesting to talk about and to nitpick. And I'm gonna have some photo. I'm looking at some photos over with Nap Arcade of some close-ups of the playfield. So if you want to navigate there on your tablet so that you can see them as well, you may want to, because I did not drop any images into our internal show notes. Excuse me. But Spooky Pinball has finally revealed Scooby Doo. Scooby Doo Pinball. I think it's technically called Scooby Doo Where Are You Pinball, but I think we're just gonna call it Scooby. So now this was sort of interesting. This is kind of one of those, and it's not, I don't think, particularly surprising, but one of those worst kept secrets in pinball thing. Like
all
everyone,
of the worst kept secrets.
Exactly. That's why it's like, it was really no worse than any other one. We all knew that they have had Scooby for a long, I mean, that was all the reports. So
right.
Scooby was what was coming next. Now, they actually, Spooky did the teaser reveal where it didn't really show anything about the pinball, just revealed what the theme was. They actually did that teaser at Cincinnati, which was interesting. For 2 reasons. One, just that a pinball company actually did some level of reveal at a show, because it's been quite a while since we've seen that. And I know that comes up for discussion a lot with pinball enthusiasts, because some of them really feel like shows should be where games are revealed, and others probably are, the ones that are more business sensitive are like, well, there's no real like financial reason to launch at a show anymore. So, most of like Stern doesn't really do that anymore. JJP, I think, kind of did that in what was it, Wonka, in terms of like the gameplay reveal was at a show. But anyway, so that the other aspect, though, the second thing is Cincinnati's not all that large of a show. Like in the world of shows, it's not an expo or a TPF. I've heard it's a very good show. I've heard the report that might be one we consider going to.
I will say, it's got the best name. Cincinnati is so good.
It is.
Oh, it's so good.
I don't want to overly praise their cleverness, because I like to think it kind of wrote itself.
It did, but it's so good. it just rolls off the tongue. It's just and
it's just perfect. Can you imagine? I imagine someone said, "Oh, you should go to Cincinnati." Dude, where is it? I wanted to just give you the look, like, never mind. Go to York. Where is it? I'm sorry. Anyway, so the teaser came out there. Then, in very quick fashion, the game was fully revealed. I actually have links in the show notes to several items, so listeners can go ahead and follow along. I have a link to the teaser trailer. I have a link to the gameplay video that they kind of put out. And then I have I shouldn't say the teaser. I have the one where it shows, no, I guess it was the teaser. It shows like the specs and stuff on it. And then also the link to Nap Arcade will be included as well, ultimately. And in our internal notes, Tony, it's not showing up, but I wrote it on my desktop. I probably just didn't sign in, so
okay.
Don't worry. Don't worry, listeners.
You're talking about all these things, and
I'm checking right now too. I didn't write them on this. Sometimes I do most of my editing on my other computer, but sometimes my Microsoft account doesn't log in, probably because I have my work one and my personal one that I sign in on. So I need to just sync it, and then we'll be fine. But regardless, it will get in there, folks. Don't you worry. Don't you worry. But I'm going to leave this in so that they know how much we care and how sausagey the sausages are. Okay, so game sales opened up on Friday. That was December 9th, 2022, for those listening in the future. And Spooky indicated yet again, like pretty much all of their pins, really everything aside from TNA, really, they've announced a limit. This limit is 1,969 units. Yep, they've upped the number again. So when we think about, because what was the Halloween plus Ultraman? That was about 1,750, I think. Wasn't it 500 Ultraman and 1,250 Halloweens? I think it was around that. So, all right, they've gone up here again about another 200-ish. Didn't go all the way to 2,000, but they're
being cute with it.
They're being cute, and we know how I feel about that.
Yes, you don't like cute things.
Yes. So anyway, 3 price tiers. They have their standard edition, and the way for those that aren't familiar, the way their numbers work is they set their limit, so the 1,969, that can be a blend of any of these pin types. They will just go until they sell 1,969. It doesn't matter if they're 1,900 SEs or if it's like 500 SEs. It can be anything. It's part of the mix of the count. So the standard edition is a $7,769 pin. Requires a $1,000 non-refundable, non-transferable to other games deposit. I should note you are allowed to sell your spot. They did clarify that. You can sell your spot to someone else, but they want to make clear, like, if you decide you want another spooky game,
you can't transfer it from Scooby to grab a...
You need to sell your spot and buy a new spot.
Okay.
The Bloodsuckers edition, says the middle tier, that's $8,769 with a $1,500 deposit. And then the collector's edition is $9,769, requiring a $2,000 deposit. They do have feature matrices out, which if we want to, we can go over. And I'll discuss a little bit about the strategy because I think it's consistent with the strategy they've done before. Running through what the game has, it's got an upper playfield, something that we know Spooky has been relying on a lot lately. It's got apron ball locks with questionable aesthetic design. It's got upper flipper diverter. So the left flipper on the upper playfield consists of it looks like a bookcase, and it functions, I guess, as a diverter and as a flipper. 5-ball mystery machine lock, 16 custom injection molded sculpts from, I believe, Back Alley Creations. Topper, it allows 5-player gameplay because each of the people with the little Scooby crew is playable and is supposed to, from I heard in an interview, bring their own unique abilities. So like a choose your house sort of thing. And let's see, lots of known Scooby voice actors, I'd say. Frank Welker is probably the most famous one just in terms of the sort of breadth of library he has as a voice actor on so many different properties, including Scooby Doo. Matthew Lillard, who played Shaggy in the live action. Kate, and I'm not sure if this is how we say her last name, but I think it's Mikuchi. And then Gray Griffin. So those were the voice actors I saw confirmed. The art, 3 different people are working on various aspects of the art. So Matt Frank, Jeff Zornow, and Brad Duke. I know at least 2 of those have done other spooky properties before. We've got animations are by Bill Rude. The design of the game itself is Spooky Luke and Corwin Emery, or he's commonly known as Bug. Software is done by Spooky DJ, but the rules are by Luke Peters. And the game is a wide body, which I believe is a first for Spooky. So, okay, that's the quick basics. I have some imagery loaded up, and I think everything is now properly synced. We can go ahead and have a conversation. I don't know where we want to start. Maybe let's start with the play field. If you have it loaded, Tony, so you can see it. I don't know if you have or haven't, but
I'm not syncing for some reason, but I've got it called up elsewhere.
Okay, so I mean, when I look at the playfield, my initial reaction is this looks like a lot safer of a layout than Halloween and Ultraman ran with, which I think is a smart move.
Yes. No, it is. I find it interesting that it really feels like they're pushing the villains. They seem to be very prominent in the artwork on the playfield and the topper and such.
Yeah, not. I see a lot of inserts to track things. The way that it looks to me is I'm going to. I hate to speculate on the rules without really seeing much play yet. I did watch a little bit of video. They put out a short video with gameplay, as I had noted. And so, I bet I don't have a feel for the rules yet. I'm kind of wondering if this is going to be like a wood chopper approach, where it's kind of like you make 3 shots and it gets you something. I see a lot of icons that look to me like maybe they're designed like that, with multiple lights on the shots, which is something we've seen other games run. I mean, that's kind of like how Metallica, I feel, is you kind of chop a particular shot, or Attack from Mars. You maybe do a shot 3 times and that gets you a step towards
right
total annihilation, for example. So there are things like that. I very colorful, of course. They've like colored the habit trails. So you've got like blue, green, orange going on. So, and I'm assuming those all are corresponding to a particular character or something along those lines. So that could be pretty clever. When I see this, and I'm not unique in this, I've had several people either mention on various Discords I'm on or message me saying that they look at this and it feels to them like a modified Alice Cooper Nightmare Castle in terms of how it's configured.
They're not wrong.
So, I mean, I see a number of the lower section, I think we could relatively fairly describe as fanish in terms of its configuration. There's really nothing in the middle. It's wide open sorts of stuff. There are a lot of obfuscated shots once you get towards the back, because they're either covered up by toys or they're covered up by the upper playfield. It did look to me, based off of watching the shots actually being made in that brief gameplay video, that there are a lot of horseshoe shots that just sort of whip around and then come right back. I'm not sure how it's going to play. Looking at it, like I think this is going to play probably faster than Halloween. I hesitate though, because they went wide body on it,
right?
And normally
that'd be slower,
right?
Your typical expectation. I find it weird that the drop targets on the left are pretty much invisible below the habit trails. They're there, but I worry that they're going to be very hard to see in gameplay.
I agree. In fact, there are other ones that there are inserts all the way on the far left, like at the double outline throw, which, okay, I mean, I don't, again, this is a gameplay critique, of course, but really a double outlines on the left. Wow. most people do not like double outlines. But anyway, there are inserts there. They're also covered up. There's one on the right as well that's covered up. I mean, maybe because it's like over the outlines, that's less important, perhaps. I'm wondering if there's an insert, though, further up on the far left above the outlines where it looks like there's something that says yikes. Is that an insert? It's the same color as the inserts. But yeah, no, there's some of the stuff that I think is a little obfuscated. I don't personally like obfuscated playfields. It's one of my biggest critiques about Popeye. I mean, now to be fair, Popeye is a terrible game that deserves to be criticized. Even Barry Osler criticizes Popeye. But here's something that you may not have noticed before, Tony, but it's an interesting thing to look at. Are you looking at the full playfield shot?
Yeah, I am.
Okay. Are you looking at they have an action button now. I think that might be a first for Spooky. You see the action button?
I do.
All right. Is it centered?
It looks like it's off to the right.
So you see, I'm sure the action button, it appears centered on the lock bar, but that's not centered with the apron.
Right, because of the shooting trough.
Yes, because of how they've chosen to. I mean, you could still have the trough off there and then have moved the text over to be aligned with the button if you had wanted to, though. Right. I mean, the apron still runs the same length. I'm just assuming this is a side effect of the wide body approach. Now, here's one of the things. I want to talk a little bit about the wide body decision. What do you think about going wide body? Do you think this is a good move?
I don't think it was a good choice by them.
Okay. Because one of the things I've heard from, I don't remember, I read it, I guess, from someone is there was a discussion on a Discord about that. And it was, okay, well, what was one of the biggest complaints a lot of people had about Alice Cooper's Nightmare Castle? The main thing was the rules are fun. Game shots are way too tight. So we're kind of doing an ACNC inspired layout. Why not go wide? And that opens up those shots. Plus, I haven't gone and done a cross comparison. I'm not sure there are as many shots on this one either. So they might have actually reduced the number of shots and added width to make them easier to complete. But you think it's a mistake. You, Designer Tony, think it's a mistake. That's going to be your new name,
Designer Tony. Here with Designer Tony, we enjoy the finer things in life. But, no, I do. I think that slowing the game down as much as going to wide body could be a mistake, especially with, how do I want to put it? I'm worried about a lot of the choices in this game, not necessarily due to the choices themselves, so much as due to Spooky's quality control issues.
And that's something we can touch on. One of the things, I guess, longtime listeners are well familiar with my stance on wide bodies, that I generally think that you give up a lot of superior geometry when you do it. I don't personally like to play most wide bodies very much. You would defer to even people like Pat Lawler, who have made some fairly popular wide bodies like Twilight Zone in particular, who have since commentated saying that it's not a healthy practice to use wide bodies, that it doesn't help the design process. I actually listened to an interview over on the other podcast that I co-host, though I was not on this episode of The Pinball Show, where Zach Minnie interviewed Bug and Spooky Luke about this game. And he asked about the wide body aspect. And one of them, I think it was Bug, but I don't remember. And I probably should have gone back and pulled the exact quote. But people can always write into eclecticgamerspodcast@gmail.com if I'm incorrect. But as I recall hearing it, paraphrasing, what they said they did is they just took one of their standard body playfields, dropped it into, essentially dropped it into a wide body cab, and then added on to the sides. Is how they approached designing a wide body. I'm not a pinball designer, Tony. That doesn't sound like the right way to do it.
That doesn't sound like the right way to do it at all.
So the reason they were explaining that is their argument, and I get this argument, so I want to share it, was they went on to say the reason they say they did it that way is they felt the problem with wide bodies is a problem you mentioned right at the start when we brought it up was, well, they're slow. And they don't want their wide body to be slow. So their logic was, let's drop in a standard playfield and then we'll just add on stuff to the sides. And because we've started with the base of a standard, it will be able to play fast because the ball is playing in the standard portion. I would agree with that. That's one of the things I think that makes Demolition Man work so well is most of the stuff is still essentially, like the shots are still sort of standard playfield with things.
Right.
The thing is, I'm not entirely sure that they've achieved that here. Like if I look on the right, I kind of see it. Like you see those lights to the right of the shooter lane. Like that's not playable space. So if they use that part because they went wide, yeah, so far so good, right? Because the shooter lane isn't all the way on the right; it's a little bit to the left.
Correct.
Okay, but that's not the case on the far left. We've got places where the ball goes on the far left in the wide body zone, which means you've compromised the standard geometry already to make it a wide body, which means you will suffer the consequences of going wide body. It's just how it works. And it might be worth it. That's going to be up to you. But I mean, some of the other stuff like the double outlane on the left to me looks like that's my biggest complaint with wide bodies is once you get lower and lower, how do you access that width? I think designers, even really good ones, struggle mightily with what to do in the lowest sections where there's really no way to shoot it. So, you end up like sticking in more in lanes or something. Well, in this case, it's like, well, we got to just drop in 2 outlines because we want to just have one big one because that's going to look weird. So we'll have 2 and we'll put 2 switches there. Problem solved.
But is the problem solved?
The problem of what to do with the space is solved. Whether or not it's enjoyable, remains to be seen.
Yeah, we won't know that till we get a hand on it. And like always, we don't really like to talk about games until we've actually played them.
But I'm concerned a little bit about that. What do you think about the apron ball lock? Like, do you think that's fun? That kind of looks neat.
I think it's an interesting idea. I think it's something that done well could be a lot of fun. Is this done well? I don't know. I don't think it is very pretty. Let's put it that way. I think
the aesthetic.
The aesthetics kind of.
I got to assume it was a joke, given how they're pointed at certain characters' faces and stuff.
Yeah, it's a little
risque.
Yeah. We'll go with that. I think it wasn't necessarily the best of design choices. I also worry, like with the crossbow on Walking Dead.
Oh, the Premium LE.
On the Premium LE Walking Dead. Anything that's up in that area, I always worry about having issues with it breaking and stuff. And like I said before, stuff breaking on a spooky game is the rule. So anything extra could be a concern. But yeah, no, there's definitely some design choices there that are suspect.
The toys, the back alley creation sculpts, those all look good, as they always pretty much do to me. What last thing I think I'd touch on the layout for the time being is the upper playfield. Any thoughts on that?
I don't think there needs to be an upper playfield. But I think I've gotten to the point where I think that about pretty much everything.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a big upper playfield fan. I will say that at least this one is sizable. It does look like there are things to do on it. I think the bookcase flipper. Actually, that's the one like component I think looks ugly, but I think the concept behind it
is cool.
It's interesting.
I like the concept.
Yeah, I think, and seeing it played, it looked like it was pretty functional. So it looked like that was working as intended. So I mean, that part's kind of cool. Again, it's the configuration up there. Once you are up there, looks fairly fanish, but it's an upper playfield with limited space. I don't know what else you're really gonna.
Yeah, there's not a whole lot you're going to be able to do. There's not a lot of.
So those are the main things about the layout. What do you think about the pricing?
I will be honest. I'm always honest, but in this case, it's surprisingly honest. It's cheaper than I thought it would be. I honestly, the fact that the CE is under 10 grand is not what I was expecting with the way prices have gone with all games recently.
That's a good point. So as noted, the standard edition at $77.69, just noting they didn't, someone else has made one. I should have saved it. Actually made it in a feature matrix because they just kind of listed it out, which this is a total nitpick because it didn't affect the game. But please, I get that it's thematic, but don't do your listings in the Scooby font. It's hard to read. It's not Comic Sans, but it's close. It's hard to read. But anyway, so the standard edition features were flat black, powder coat, and Mystery Machine cabinet art. Then at $8,769 is the Bloodsucker edition. That's got Mystery Machine cabinet art, clear plastic protectors, interior graphics, knocker kit, shaker kit, interactive RGB speaker lights, target decals, powder coated to match bill acceptor ready door, doesn't include the acceptor, RGB LED action button, metallic flake powder coat, laser cut speaker grills, flipper button protective armor, numbered Bloodsucker edition plaque, and 5 metallic flake habit trails. So there's a lot more in the Bloodsucker aesthetically for an additional $1,000, right?
Yeah.
And then for the collector's edition, which is $1,000 more, so $9,769, custom art package, ghoulish green plastic protectors, interior graphics knocker, shaker, interactive speaker lights, custom zombie chasing Scooby speaker grills, target decals, ghoulish green powder coat, RGB LED multi-layered villain topper, the laser cut custom creeper armor, custom Scooby Doo. I'm not going to read the rest of them. There's a lot. So I knew that the collectors was going to be under 10,000 because I had seen something about that they weren't going to take it up over that. So that part didn't surprise me. Here's what I think. I think the surprising part was the price of the standard being, I mean, especially given where Stern Pros are at now, this is not that different. And so that's the part that surprised me. But this is standard for how Spooky works. They've aesthetic stacked the upper model so much that I think people see the standard and think, oh, this pricing's really good. And then they feel compelled to get the CE anyway, where it's nice that it's still under $10,000. I don't know, though, if I would deem it a $10,000 or $9,700 game, because it's mostly just aesthetic stuff. Like, you're not getting new mechs.
Right. I think that the majority of pinball purchasers will feel differently than that. They'll do it for the aesthetics.
Oh,
this is pinball.
I do think it works.
Yeah.
Regardless of the what you feel about the strategy, I do think the strategy will be effective. I'm very confident that when it is all said and done, Spooky sells more CEs than any other model. So the method,
100%.
I don't know if we really need to talk too much about like the deposit system. This is not different than what they've done before. I'm not a fan of it. So I don't ever participate in non-refundable deposits unless the game's ready to, because I basically just want to pay for the game and get it.
Right.
Which is what I did with a Spooky I bought, but that was still subject to this model. They've done this for years, sort of approach.
Yeah, we've talked about it in the past.
So I don't really see a new need to touch on it further. I had projected that this game would sell out day one. I don't believe it has. I tried to check yesterday because it went on sale Friday. They apparently had website difficulties, and like the website, just too much traffic, and the website kept going down. And then they got it back up and stabilized, and I saw someone ask them on their Facebook, "Are you sold out yet?" And they said no. And then I didn't see anything new. And I think they would have announced if it was sold out. So as near as I could tell, it didn't sell out in the first day. Maybe it sold out at this point. They did expand their distributors, like Zach with Flippin' Out Pinball is an official Spooky distributor now. I know he announced he got a higher allotment of Scoobies. He sold his pretty quick, whatever number he had, and then he got more that he was allowed to sell. So, I mean, there were a lot of people that jumped right away because clearly it was crashing the website.
Right.
And now buying through Spooky, I believe that require, again, we don't have to dive into it. I think you had to be a Fang Club member if you wanted to buy at this point through them, which is their paid subscription service, which gives you kind of like right of first refusal, basically.
Right.
Sort of thing. So I think really the last thing to talk about is what you've tried to bring up several times, and I've kept shooing it off until the end of this, and that is the QC, the quality control. And and maybe this is why I was wrong about the day one sellout, because I have often criticized, I think it's fair to say, criticized pinheads for having short-term memory loss issues, and they just seem to forget all these complaints they have with manufacturers, and then they go ahead and they see the new theme and they're like, gotta buy, and that definitely still happens. It happens with every licensed theme that's out there. However, there has been a lot of discussion about the quality control issues. Halloween and Ultraman, of course, we heard a lot of it. This has been true for every single Spooky.
Right.
And I know there have been some Spooky fanboys, is what I would call them, that used to go around and say, well, I've never had any problems. And it's like, and that may very well be true. We know our operators in the area had a lot of problems with their Spookies. I haven't had a tremendous number of problems with my TNA, but I have had to work on things more so than some other games that I have had. I actually did this morning pop into the TNA 2.0 thread because I saw it was sort of bumped to the top. Most of that was discussion about problems. And I actually had someone, I think it was one, maybe it was more than one person, report that, the reports are TNA 2.0 has more QC issues than 1.0 did.
Wow.
And they didn't sell out of the 2.0s.
Right.
I'm wondering if maybe that's that coupled with these prices are higher than Halloween and Ultraman. So I'm wondering if the higher prices, the QC concerns that you've raised, and whether you all listening personally love Halloween and Ultraman or don't, market reality is those games fell like stones in a pond. You have to take a huge bath on those if you want to sell them.
Yeah.
It's a concern. Like, I don't know. And your mentioning of the QC is definitely what would be the biggest thing for me about adopting another spooky title in my house is I'm getting old, Tony. I don't really want to work on new games out of the box to try and make them functional. And I listened to the interview that they did with Zach to try and see like if I didn't hear anything that like gave me confidence or made me fearful. It's just I didn't really hear anything that made me think like they figured it out yet. So, what are your thoughts on the QC? Because you've clearly wanted to discuss it for a bit. It's at the point where let me be super, I think I've been super transparent, but let me be ultra super transparent. Of all the quote unquote major manufacturers, they have the worst reputation for build quality, and it seems like they have done very little to resolve that. What are your thoughts?
Not only have they done very little to resolve that, but now they're putting out a new game that, because it's a wide body, has even more stuff in it to go wrong. Because that's the correct answer to dealing with your QC problems, is to make something that is more likely to have even more problems to deal with. The fact that that there are this many releases in and are still having some of the problems that you hear about are just silly. Games a few releases ago that were where they had just wood screws into a playfield that just backed out and fell. That's the kind of thing that you wouldn't expect in this day and age. The sheer amount of stuff that just breaks or goes wrong. I think that for a company that is so well viewed as, like the boutique company, they should also have the highest quality standard as a boutique. They shouldn't have the lowest qualities. They should be putting out the best machines because they are a boutique. They are putting out limited edition runs of small special things, and the quality should be absolutely as high as possible. And they're not that. And I think every time they put out a release where they don't make becoming that high level quality their primary goal is a problem. They should be the Lamborghini or the Ferrari. They don't need to be the Hyundai. You can't put out Lamborghini and Ferrari numbers with Hyundai quality. That's not what your goal should be, to be fair. I own a Hyundai, so, and it's actually been great. But
it's an analogy. Yeah, one of the things that this sort of brings up for me is, and you really focused on boutique, but I'm not even sure how accurate it is anymore. And that could be another aspect into the purchasing. This is almost 2,000 units. This isn't the 90. 2,000 units is a lot of pinball. And I think people are, that was one of my response. And I wasn't the first one to make it was, do you really need to jump on Spooky Scooby Doo if you're unsure at this point? With nearly 2,000 units being made, you're gonna find these pretty easily. There aren't very many companies that put out 2,000 pins of something anymore. It's not that common. I know pinball's had a resurgence, but 2,000 is a lot of units. It really is a lot.
Well, which brings the question up. Should they have remained at their old kind of levels, concentrated on moving for higher quality, but maintained at the 500 or 600 machine level? They would have had less sales, but they could have charged more if their quality control targeted it and merited it, and it would have let them remain in that level of play? Is this one of those things where it's just the success of every time you put a game up, no matter how many you list, it sells out almost instantly, just keeps driving them to make more and more and more?
Yeah, I mean, here's my, and this is speculation corner, total speculation. I'm not alleging that this is truth. This is, we're hypothesizing. Here's what my opinion is on the matter. I think Spooky wants to be a bigger manufacturer. I think that, and for good reason, like they've been selling out of every game. The growth model has been working for them. They've done a lot of things really, really right. I think. I mean, they clearly have been growing their business in a relatively safe way. I don't agree, like from a consumer perspective, I don't agree with every decision that they make, but let's look at what's been working for them. They get really hot licenses. It's arguable that Spooky, especially for the amounts of games that they want to make at this point, might be the second best at the licensing game, second to Stern. JJP seems like hit and miss. I mean, especially if JJP is actually doing Godfather as their next game, which I'm getting I'm sorry, I see your sigh eye roll, Tony, but honestly, I'm very concerned that is. I'm getting more and more rumor reports in that's the next one.
Why? On what conceivable level would anybody think that was the right choice for people?
I don't know, and I don't want to digress too much on it, but my point is, and in the wake of Toy Story 4, it's like, I mean, JJP has had some really great licenses, and there are rumors about other ones like Top Gun or Maverick. I don't know which, but that would be really good ones. But for
we got what? The new Pirates of the Caribbean, Toy Story 4. No, you're 100% correct.
So that's where I'm kind of like Spooky. I mean, Rick and Morty, great license get. Scooby, great license get. Halloween is a huge, I mean, it started the whole slasher genre. It's a pretty big get. Those are not bad licenses. Where I think, so you've got, they're playing the license game really well. They have an excellent method with their limited count and then ushering people into the highest iteration of it, because they build the more expensive ones first, and they obviously put the most visual features. So people go CE or BSE or whatever the upper version is in question. That works really well. Plus, they're successful in getting 0% loans via their non-refundable deposit model that people play right into. So they get huge amounts of cash that they can just throw into the savings account while they're ordering stuff and earn interest on, which is a pretty good gig. I mean, maybe not quite Kickstarter good, but that's a pretty good gig. So like they got all that really, really working for them. Here is where I think Spooky suffers the most. As you've noted, the QC is the biggest issue, and I think it's because they're in the middle of nowhere. They should not be in that town. They should be in a manufacturing hub, or at least ancillary to a manufacturing hub where people can get there relatively quickly. That's why so many around the Chicago area. There's a huge labor pool that they can do.
And it's a skilled labor pool where even if they haven't made a pinball machine before, they have used the equipment like that. They have used other types of things. They are not bringing people in with zero training and starting from fresh.
Right. And this is something we've talked about with Multimorphic. Multimorphic, which is like, I think in Round Rock, Texas. Right. Not the biggest city, but they're pretty close to a major labor pool. But we've discussed and seen the number of ads that they've had because, again, you have to find someone willing to do the work, which isn't unskilled labor. They must be trained.
Right.
And what you're competing with at the same price point as that. So with Spooky, I think you've got an added challenge because you have to be willing to move there. Right. I don't know what the nearest big town is. I looked them up on the map once, and they were mostly surrounded by other small towns that are just a bunch of pubs. So I think that's part of the thing is that where they have chosen to base has really compromised their potential labor pool. And then the other, and that I think also affects their QC because of what's available, and they have to train them, and how often is that going on, and obviously growth and all of that having to be factored in. So there's that. And then the other thing, which isn't QC related, but I do think it's I think it's shown for a long time, probably forever, quite frankly, aside from like the contract builds with Scott Denisi and TNA, of course, which is a contract build, is They don't invest in quote unquote real designers.
No,
they're doing them in house, and like it kind of sounds fun, like in a homebrewy way. But when you have something that costs as much as Halloween does, and then it comes out and the layout's not good, it's just like again, listeners, I understand you might like the layout. The community writ large has spoken. It's not a good layout.
Right.
It's just so whether or not you want to disagree is fine. Just be aware that the market has spoken and has said.
We have talked to plenty of you who completely disagree. Sure. But I've talked to
we know
even
people
more.
who love Thunderbirds. There's a game for everyone, and I don't want to take that away from people, but we have to talk about reality. The price reflects what most people believe, and most people believe that game is a dog.
Yes.
And again, it was like a design by committee. No one and I'm not saying you have to go in and get Dennis Nordman. I'm just saying that you look at it, and you also look at the decisions with Halloween, for example, where Bowen Cairns was no longer involved. And while a lot of criticism was levied at Alice Cooper's layout, they did like the rules he came up with. And they kind of started to feel like they just don't spend a lot of money on the development side.
Yeah, I can see that.
And again, it's like you're putting out nearly 2,000 units. You need to start showing like you're just as serious about rules and layout as your competitors, because I might make fun of Toy Story Force Price all the live long day, but it's not a bad shooter, and the rules are good for what they. I mean, it's maybe too easy, we want to say, but the rules are solid.
Right.
The rules are solid. Like, it's not an unfun shooting game. I actually liked playing Toy Story 4 when I've played it on location. I would never buy it at the price point. That's a money problem, not a like this is a bad game problem.
Right.
And maybe Scooby has solved all this, but that's what I think it is. I think it's their location, and I think it's their decisions to in-house so much without the pool of experience there that you end up with these games that are like, you look at them at first and you're like, wow, this is so different than everything else. And then you play it and you're like, oh.
Right. And I can see, and let's be honest, the pool of pinball designers is rapidly aging out. It is good to bring new designers up, but it is very much a thing where I feel like it would not hurt to do something more akin to apprenticeships, where you have a designer who is established helping to call it edit work done by new designers, someone to act as an overseer, to help, to teach them the tricks, to explain to them why something doesn't work, what doesn't work, to kind of guide them along, to bring them to becoming their own designer. And it'll have their own feel and their own flow. But it will help prevent from making the mistakes. Because when a lot of these other designers came up, it was back when there were there was just a ton of pinball companies, and they were putting out machines constantly all year long. As opposed to now, it's hard to get the experience when every time you drop a dud, you run the risk of breaking the company.
And I definitely could see the apprentice model working. The thing that I would do if you don't feel you can do that, because again, like who do they have who's a veteran designer at Spooky, for example, is what we've seen JJP recently do and American Pinball recently do. There is a whole custom and homebrew community out there. Farm that.
Yeah. That's
how people like Nordman got their jobs, is they designed a game and then like showed it to the companies. Right. So it was, that's Steve Ritchie's start was similar. He was working, I think, in assembly at Atari, and then he came up with a game and he showed it to him and they built it. That still exists. It doesn't need to be that weird American Dream thing, which I never even heard of what happened with that, because they were supposed to do that at Expo, like the American Dream where the homebrewer was going to get built by American. Yeah, well, anyway, but like they hired the Sonic Spinball guy. JJP hired a homebrew guy recently too, who's at the company now. I don't remember. I'm sorry, I'm bad with names. Until I see the new, the games come out, it's tough to remember. But that's where they're thinking. That's where I would go. Not, well, let's see. We need a new game. What do you think, Bob on the factory floor? Maybe we could have him make one because it won't cost us anything. Right. I'm just sort of like, I look like, I feel like if we look under the hood, we can see where like they're cheaping out on stuff. Plus, another interesting thing on this is in that interview with Bug and Spooky Luke with Zach, they talked about their new proprietary board set. I'm a little confused at this point. So, all right, they did Pinheck, then they did the P Rock or P3 Rock to be more specific. Then I thought they did Pinatar. But I was a little confused if maybe Pinatar hadn't yet been done and they're now launching Pinatar. But they talked about and I totally understand the desire not to pay a third party like Multimorphic for all of those boards, given how many they need, and have one in house. But if Spooky is if Scooby Doo is the first Spooky to use a newest version of some particular piece of electronic hardware, was it put through its paces, or is this going to be another big QC risk on top of all of the mechanical stuff that we've been seeing? Because software complaints have abounded. Now, some of that might not be hardware related. Like, I remember a lot of like the memory leak issue that took forever to resolve on Alice Cooper, and that was P3 Rock, and other people using that board set were not having that problem.
Right.
So it would suggest that it was a programming struggle with Spooky to figure out what they had done to cause a memory leak, which, like video game memory leaks, you like have to reset your game in order to solve it. But I don't know. Anyway, it's, congratulations to Spooky for putting out Scooby Doo Pinball. Even if it does not sell out day one, I still think there's a decent likelihood that it will sell out. And regardless, I think the sales are robust.
Right.
Even if they might have finally, perhaps like a lot of manufacturers, like JJP with Toy Story 4, they might have kind of found the ceiling for if it doesn't sell out.
Right.
Let's say they sold 1,200 of them. Maybe they figured out, well, at this price with our reputation, this is what we can get. And then they can have the discussion, like, do they want to up that? Do they want to make changes to try and get more sales? Or do they want to say, okay, let's be a 1,200 unit run company and just do that? Because either can be the right answer.
Right.
I don't think either's wrong. I don't think you need to inherit. They're not got a bunch of shareholders. There's no inherent need for them to be like an amoeba going around gobbling up stuff. I don't think amoebas really do that. I was going to say a blob, but a slime. And I was like, I don't really know what slimes do to get bigger. So anyway.
They're cute. That's what they do. They're cute.
Well, Tony, I just got one more pinball thing, and that is Rumor Corner.
Rumor Corner.
Right, Tony. Yeah.
So here is a rumor corner, not involving Spooky at all, but instead involving Spectre, the villain organization of James Bond. Actually, it's just about James Bond, not really about Spectre at all.
Oh.
Okay.
Well, you broke my heart.
Yes.
I thought you were going to say they're releasing a special Spectre edition.
Maybe they will. Will it have code in it?
No.
No. So you and I, we've had a number of conversations with other people in the pinball hobby, and the reactions right now to James Bond are, let's say, subpar from what Stern's used to.
That's very, very nice of you.
I'm trying to be kind. I tried to be kind in the Spooky section. I'll try and be kind in the Rumor Corner section. I mean, it's so much so that I've actually heard that the sales have, and that's not the rumor, but I've heard that the sales, like new sales right now, have fallen off a cliff on that game. And it's not particularly surprising. We still have not gotten out, or at least I haven't gotten out.
Either.
We have 2 on location. But I remember, I heard on another I think it was the Triple Drain podcast, them discussing about how, you're playing the Dr. No Pro, and Dr. No is supposed to be selectable, but he's not available yet. And it's like, there was, from the very first leaked gameplay to the official dead flip stream of it, to people now playing it on location, and of course the in-between of where people experienced it at Expo, the number one thing has always been this code set is not very far along. Here is the rumor. I have heard this is not a Stern issue. I have heard that Eon Productions, or whoever manages their license, is taking a really long time to approve assets. And we've kind of gotten this vibe because there's a lot that we thought would be out by now that wouldn't be. And we know that the license, like George Gomez went on the Super Awesome Pinball show. George Gomez, for those that don't know, is the designer of this game. And he did explain, like, it was the licensor who had them pull back from their UK IAPA show reveal that they were all set to do because of the Queen's death. Like, that was true. It was solely because of the Queen's death. They were ready to put those out on the floor. Now, of course, the software still wasn't there yet. What I have heard is that whoever does the review of the license assets for James Bond suffers from epilepsy and is only able to screen things in very limited doses in order to not induce a seizure. So the problem isn't that Stern isn't getting the rules done. The problem is that the licensor person cannot just sit there and view all the video because there's so much flashing and everything that's happening with the pinball and going through and watching what's happening on the screen that this individual can only do it in really small doses. That is your rumor.
Oh, my God.
This is alleged. I don't know that's true. It might be best to treat it as fiction. We always qualify rumor corners.
Just why? Why wouldn't you find somebody else to do that job?
And that was my again. If the rumor is true, my initial reaction is, isn't that like a liability lawsuit waiting to happen? Like, you need to have someone else do it. I mean, maybe the person knows they would know their body best and know their limits. But I'm like, I think I would probably be at the point of like, no, you can't review this. Like, review the still art. We got to have someone else review the video and the flashy light thing because you have a medical condition and I don't want to induce a seizure in you and possibly have some bad thing happen. So I, again, don't know if it's true or not. All I need to know is, are you rumor-tained by it?
I'm concerned. I'm rumor-cerned by it.
Rumor-cerned. Okay.
I'm rumor-cerned.
I understand. Well, why don't you rumor-cern us about video games? Because I see there is a lot of stuff here.
Yeah. Today is going to be a very special Law and Order edition of the video game segment.
Boom, boom.
We've got a pretty large amount of coverage today, and almost all of it is legal related. A Canadian court has approved a class action lawsuit to go forward against Epic Games. This class action lawsuit was filed originally in 2019 by a couple families claiming that Epic Games has knowingly created Fortnight to be a very addicting game. Claiming to the point that they brought in psychologists when they were designing the game to help them make the game as addictive as possible, especially to minors. So, yeah,
that's some serious allegations.
Yeah, no, that is some very serious allegations. And one of the comments that had come up is when the judges decided to go ahead with it is that while video game addiction is a thing that has been talked about, and it exists, it appears to exist much larger in Fortnite players compared to a lot of other video games.
Okay.
According to reports that they had received. There's a lot more Fortnite players who fall into that. So they are going forward with it. They said it does not appear to be a frivolous or ill-founded suit, so they are allowing it to continue. So that is going to be, I mean, I'll be honest, if it comes out that they literally brought in psychologists and were like, yeah, so what kind of things would make this very addictive to, like, you know, kids and teenagers? Yeah, because we want to avoid those issues. So just tell me what would be the most likely thing so we can avoid it. It's that can turn out to be a pretty serious thing depending upon how it goes in courts.
Yeah, that's well, we'll have to see, but yeah, they're moving forward with it. There's enough there to at least not make it look like it was just completely frivolous, as you've noted. So
right.
Okay. That one will be definitely very interesting.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how it goes
very
forward.
concern-tained.
And now Riot is suing NetEase, claiming that their mobile game Hyperfront is just a straight-up copy of Valorant.
Oh, okay.
They claim that Hyperfront copies substantial parts of Valorant, including maps, weapons, character designs, weapon skins, charms.
Oh, so significant copy.
Significant.
Oh.
To the point where Riot had like cease and desisted NetEase at one point, and they made a few changes, but nothing major enough to make Riot happy. So now Riot is suing to have the game shut down completely. And for them to receive, obviously, substantial compensation.
Yeah, they need substantial. I don't know if Valorant's doing as well for Riot as they thought it would.
Yeah, I don't think it is. But like when some of the stuff is compared, like I saw some of the comparison art between Hyperfront and Valorant. Some of the characters are literally palette swapped. Or like there's a character in one of them that has the exact same weapon type, exact same poses, is a palette swapped, sex swapped version of that character. So it was a male instead of a female, but had the same poses, moved the same, had the same weapons, had a moveset that was almost identical. But where one was had, I've got like tans and greens and stuff. And the other was like, well, yeah, but I have greens over tans. That's completely different than tans over greens.
Different.
It's just
very
completely different. So,
all the different.
And some of the map designs are like, when you compare the maps, they're like 95+% identical. So yeah, it's, I think Riot has a very good case, going forward. It'll be interesting to see how that actually works out. But yeah, I mean, in the mobile game market, that type of thing is pretty common, especially the art asset theft, though not necessarily the total game theft to the point of having the same type of game with all the, like stealing the maps and stuff. But it's not unusual to see mobile games out there that have art assets that are lifted from movies or anime or other video games entirely. I've seen ads for them. I've seen review videos where people have just like, okay, here's this game and here's all of these art assets that they lifted from these like 15 other games to put into this game. All these character designs or this and that. It's a pretty common thing in the more like Wild Westy independent mobile game market.
Okay.
So, the Microsoft Activision merger. There was a report.
A report?
That the FTC was softening their stance. And 3 days later, the FTC sued Microsoft to block the merger. So that report was wrong.
That report's not very right. Now, I'd heard a rumor like a month or so ago that FTC was probably going to sue them. So
right. And then another rumor came out like a week ago saying that they'd softened their stance, and then the suit got filed like right afterwards. So the FTC is claiming that the deal would allow the company to suppress its competition. They pointed out that Microsoft's acquisition of ZeniMax last year, during that, they had ensured European regulators that they had no intention to withhold games from rival consoles. And then they decided to make games from Bethesda Microsoft exclusives like Starfield and Redfall after saying that, we're not gonna stop these from being on other platforms. Though I've read elsewhere that the exact wording when they talked to the regulators did not say that they were going to allow them to be on like PlayStation and the like. It said those games would be available anywhere Game Pass was available, which means PC and Xbox.
Right. I actually want to think I should have thought about throwing the link in here. I want to think I saw something yesterday where a report that European regulators reached out and said, no, Microsoft did not lie in our arrangement.
Right.
Which that's a pretty big error on the FTC's part to make that claim that they did when the European regulators are not upset with how that went.
Well, see, and that's what I was hearing. That Microsoft's response, I just heard Microsoft's response was like, we didn't do anything that we didn't say we were going to do on Microsoft's response. The FTC lost my spot. There it is. The FTC says Microsoft has already shown that it can and will withhold content from its gaming rivals. Today, we seek to stop Microsoft from gaining control over a leading independent game studio and using it to harm competition in multiple dynamic and fast-growing gaming markets. They went on to say that Activision Blizzard is one of only a very small number of top video game developers in the world that create and publish high-quality video games for multiple devices, before noting that the publisher's titles, which include the likes of Call of Duty, Overwatch, and World of Warcraft, currently attract 154 million monthly active users between them. But that could change if this deal was allowed to proceed. With control over Activision's blockbuster franchises, Microsoft would have both the means and the motive to harm competition by manipulating Activision's pricing, degrading Activision's game quality or player experience on rival consoles and gaming services, changing the terms and timing of access to Activision's content, or withholding content from competitors entirely, resulting in harm to consumers.
Well, I mean, those aren't ridiculous concerns to have.
They're not. They're not. The interesting thing is that shortly before this suit was filed, Microsoft had made an announcement that they had agreed to a 10-year deal to bring Call of Duty to Nintendo consoles.
Where it currently is not.
Where it's currently not. And they had also offered the same deal to PlayStation.
Where it currently is.
Where it currently is. And PlayStation likened it to Blockbuster's view of Netflix rising. So, I don't know. I really don't know. I've seen some comments that the FTC filed this suit in the FTC's own courts instead of filing it in some of the other courts they had options to file it in. And I've seen some legal analysis, depending upon how much you want to do it, that they filed it in their own courts because A, the FTC never loses in their own courts, and B, that's where they tend to file stuff where they're aiming more to get concessions than necessarily to prevent stuff.
I'm curious what they want then. I know they had this a couple days ago, there were scheduled talks for them and Microsoft regarding what the concessions would be. Clearly, Microsoft has suggested that, and maybe that's, I don't know if they'd latch on to, like 10 years of exclusivity to, having Call of Duty, for example, which is the big Activision
that's the
franchise.
Big, yeah.
I don't know I really struggle long term. I mean, if the FTC, I guess, Microsoft's going to go another route. They're not going to give up on this deal at this point. And quite frankly, I struggle mightily to see how this makes a lot of sense. I can get it. Well, like if you're really against the things being gobbled up just in general, consolidation in general, I can understand why you would have concerns about this or really any acquisition, but it just doesn't make Microsoft bigger than the other consoles. So I hearken back to T-Mobile getting Sprint, and I'm like, if that's not too big, where the number 3 and number 4 merge together to still be the number 3, then I don't know what is. And I've noticed Microsoft now, because of the FTC's action, has gotten a lot more lippy out in public. Where they're like, this is everything that we've done. I know Phil Spencer gave a big talk where he's like, this is Sony. This is Sony working their FTC contacts because they are upset that we're going to have all of these properties. And he's like, we'll do a 10-year deal on Call of Duty, but he basically equated it to the Minecraft thing. He's like, we would be so stupid to lose potentially billions of dollars over the long term by limiting Call of Duty to Xbox. Do you understand how much business Call of Duty is biggest on PlayStation right now? Why would we give all that up? They're not all going to just go out and buy an Xbox console just because, we try and make them.
They would not gain enough on hardware sales. Yeah.
We'd rather make the money. And it's like, And we've seen that before. And Microsoft's had some, way back in the past in particular, had some, antitrust stuff that's happened under prior leadership. So I understand people being suspicious, and that the other thing is a number of other governments like Brazil and stuff have already signed off on this deal.
Right.
Now, obviously, that market isn't as important as the U.S. market. I think the U.S. and the U.K., I don't know if Canada are the ones. There are three, I think, that still haven't signed off.
The U.S., the U.K., and the EU.
Okay.
Are the big three.
So, yeah, I'm like, I don't know what more concessions they want. I thought it was, because I didn't know what exactly happened with the EU thing, but I thought it was, pretty glaring when you had the EU regulators like, whoa, what's this legal claim that they violated our agreement? We would have done something. They had violated the agreement. They did not violate the agreement on ZeniMax. So, I mean, it's like, it feels weird I understand the need to do the scrutiny, and I'm not critical of that, but at the same time, I'm like, why are you lying in your lawsuit then? It's like, that wouldn't have been a hard thing to confirm.
No, it feels like something that they were hand-fed and are going through with. But it's so weird. Because like you said, like the T-Mobile thing, it's like, it's not like they're suddenly going to become the number one place in the zone. They're still going to be number 3. Honestly, the way a couple of the other groups have been growing lately, they might not make it all the way up to 3. They might drop back down to 4 because there's been a lot of mergers in the last 6 months in the video game industry.
So anyway, we'll just have to wait and see. But
yeah, it's going to be interesting. While we're talking about Activision has decided to sue California over the state's lawsuit against Activision. They are claiming that the state deliberately unleashed a hurricane of hostile media coverage based on malicious and knowingly false assertions in the state's suit against Activision about, their sexual harassment and all of that. They are suing to get access to internal documents, including details about the state's discussions with the Communication Workers of America Union. Because they feel that the state has been working specifically with the unions to attack Activision Blizzard King.
Okay. I don't know that one. I don't know if that's a good lawsuit or not. How they've responded to everything else with the sexual harassment stuff, I would lean towards probably not, but again, that's considering allegedly.
Allegedly, considering all of their responses have been, well, we investigated ourselves and there was nothing wrong. So we're okay.
We're fine. This is fine. This is fine.
Yuji Naka.
Not Sonic. Gotta go fast.
Father Sonic. You might think this is a repeat from last episode.
It is.
Where we talked about insider
trading. You talked about trading and he got arrested.
He did. And then he went and then he got out on bail and all that stuff and all the goodness. Yeah, he's been arrested again.
Oh, no.
For insider trading.
Again?
Again. On a different thing. Last time he'd been arrested for insider trading of 2.8 million yen purchase, as you might recall, from a company buying up stock in a company just before the announcement came out about them doing a mobile game for Square Enix.
Right.
Well, now it comes out he also purchased 144.7 million yen of developer A-Team just before the announcement was made of them working on the mobile Final Fantasy VII, the First Soldier game.
Now, 144 million yen that's a lot of money.
That's about $1 million.
Wow.
It's just a hair over $1 million. It's like $1,050,000. So, yeah, it is not small amounts of money.
Wow. Sonic's paid him well.
Apparently.
Well, no, he probably got it all through trades. What am I saying? Allegedly.
Allegedly. There is an insider trading problem.
That's right. Maybe he could do inciting trade sim.
That's going to be his next.
Yes.
Insider trading tycoon.
Yes. You could say the best way to get out on bail.
All right. Oh,
that was a lot of law.
That was a lot of law.
You've got send that stuff to Legal Eagle on YouTube. You'll give him videos for the next couple months.
No kidding. So done with the legal stuff. On to Game Awards.
You didn't watch this live. I did.
I was attending.
I did my
a
duty.
School-related thing for my daughter, so that was more important than watching this live.
Okay.
I did tune in to hour 437 of Christopher Judge's acceptance speech. Oh
my God. I felt so bad because he was so emotional, but I was actually ranting at the television. I'm like, why won't you shut up? Oh, voice actor. That's right.
It was like 10 minutes.
Actually, I saw it was, I'm going to whine about it a little bit. I'm sorry, dude. You deserve the award, but
totally deserve it.
But holy cow. I mean, the Reddit lit up on that. Like he went on 5 minutes longer than his total dialogue in the game.
Yeah.
Starts accusations. The award for longest acceptance speech ever goes to all that sort of, it was just like, and he was the first major award. They started it felt like no one else got any time because of that. They did the walk-off music after 10 seconds on everyone else.
Yeah.
Because I didn't know they couldn't find the button, or they thought, we don't want to do this because it's going to look like really mean, this guy. He was super appreciative. I was worried that Al Pacino who was giving him the award, was going to fall over from old age off.
I know. Al Pacino looked rough.
Yeah.
like when they started the video, I'm looking, I was like, is that Al Pacino? I know they say it's Al Pacino, but is that actually Al Pacino?
It sounded like Al Pacino. Like Al Pacino almost dead version.
Yeah.
Anyway, so yeah, that was long.
Yeah.
But that wasn't the presentation speech highlight of the show.
That was not.
That was saved for the finale.
Yes.
Which was weird.
It was so
watching
weird.
it live. I was like, why? Watch it. All right. So I'll let you set it up.
Okay. For the finale, for the game of the year.
Big award.
The big award.
The one everyone cares about. The only award anyone's actually cares. Everyone's watching for trailers. That's the only real award anyone
cares about. The only real award anyone cares about. It went to Elden Ring. But
spoilers.
Yeah. When Hidetaka Miyazaki and his team went up to accept the award, there was another person with them.
A special guest. Now, when I saw this, I was confused because the person looked, one, really nervous, and two, like they were 12.
Right.
So I thought, is he related to one of them? Maybe do they have like an internship program where they let kids develop a texture?
Yeah.
I'm trying because he's up there with them. No one's looking at him or anything. So I'm like, okay.
But he really didn't look like he belonged.
No, he didn't. He looked like a kid who stole someone's suit and had his sneakers on, and I get it. Jeff Keighley does this, the whole, I'm going to wear the suit, but I'm going to put on my Air Jordans at the same time because I'm so hip.
Right.
That's not how you wear a suit, guys. Come on. Get some shoes. You can get them cheap.
You put the suit on.
You did.
And then you go with Converse. My gosh.
Yeah.
That's what you do. If you're going to wear...
Don't wear high tops with a suit.
If you're going to wear tennis shoes...
Yeah.
With a suit, it's got to be Converse. I'm just saying. It's the only thing that works.
Yeah. Thank you, Fashion Tony. Designer Tony.
Designer Tony. But...
Maybe she's born with it. No, it's Designer Tony. That's you gotta I'll make it fine. It's one shade.
It's
just one shade.
It's just one shade.
What is it? It's like black. Like Designer Tony, you only have one shade. It's black. Why? It's for highlights. What sort of highlights? I don't know. I don't know anything about makeup. Designer Tony
highlights everything.
He doesn't know. Highlights. Anyway, all right. Sorry, we're dragging this story out. I apologize. Apologize to the listeners.
They while they were doing the acceptance speech, this youngin. The youngin got the microphone, obviously to say his part of the acceptance speech.
And the concluding music's blaring at this point.
Yeah.
Everyone else is walking off the stage.
Yeah, they're trying to get off. And he gets the microphone and he says, I want to thank everybody and say that I think I want to nominate this award to my Reformed Orthodox Rabbi, Bill Clinton.
Yes. And I heard pretty much all of that live when it was said. I heard the I want to thank, and then I struggled a little bit, and then I heard nominate, or I heard the award. I thought, is he wanting to dedicate the award to someone? And then I heard this Reformed Orthodox Rabbi Bill Clinton, and I'm thinking, But not like our Bill Clinton, right? This is like
This is
someone
like
else's
some other,
Bill Clinton.
yeah.
Not the Bill Clinton. This is like Bill Clinton, not Bill Clinton. Anyway, but what I did see is there were guys with suits that then like Bill Clinton's guys or something like a Secret Service looking guys came up, and I didn't see them grab him, but he was surrounded by people while he was walking off of the stage. They did it calmly, like, oh, maybe that's, and again, I'm like, is this all part of like, does Elden Ring like have an entourage? I
Yeah.
mean, it was a pretty successful game. Maybe they just have people, I got people.
It wasn't.
Yeah.
It wasn't like a super obvious.
It was subtle.
It was
It was subtle, but you're like, those guys weren't there before. And
Yes.
now they've used like special Dark Souls powers and got up there.
Well, they didn't tweet out and announce that guy's been arrested.
Why? For harassing Bill Clinton?
They didn't say why, just that he had been.
Okay.
So there's the true last legalish thing. It was so weird. When I watched the replay, I'm just like,
Yeah, no,
this
it
is
was
so weird.
It was, and of course there were a lot of like Reddit comments on the Game of the Year about that. But what about Bill Clinton's role and all that? Now I've not confirmed this, so again, alleged. I'd heard someone who had seen that told me that there was some stuff about like this people like digging up stuff on this guy that he had been recently just got out of jail, known for anti-Semitic rhetoric. So
people say stuff.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Because on the way it sounds, because there's nothing in that statement itself that seems offensive. So it seems almost like it was for the lulz. But
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't know. It's weird. So many people seem it's strange to me the way anymore something will happen and then like people like deep dive all this stuff and explain how it is, and then it turns out to be something 100% different. It's weird.
It was weird.
It was just really odd. But now we can talk about the important part of the Game Awards, which is Christopher Judge. So that man, you want to talk about this? He was so dapper. His suit was just smoking. Guy looked great. Great voice. Everything was great. Wonderful. So we need to continue talking about his 10-minute acceptance speech for another 25 minutes. It was
It's like so long. He started by thanking his family. Then he thanked the original director. Then he thanked the new director. Then he explained how the new director chose the replacement director.
Yeah,
and I'm just keep looking over at Al Pacino. I'm like, come on. I don't know. We're going to get a Heat 2 now. I don't think we are.
Yeah, it was definitely interesting.
Al Pacino's like, I don't know why I'm here. Like, I can't even read the teleprompter. It's too far away.
Well, considering before he made the announcement, Al Pacino was doing curls with the with the award and working
I was
out
worried
with
that he was going to get hugged to death.
Yeah. Well, if you got the chance to hug Al Pacino.
No, I don't blame him.
Okay.
I mean, come on.
All right.
It's got to be really cool. I mean, of all the people who handed an award to someone, that was the coolest. It's Al Pacino.
It's Al Pacino.
It's Al Pacino.
So.
Star of the hit pinball machine Godfather. Al Pacino.
God. No. Okay. On to the real meat and potatoes of the Game Awards. New game announcements and trailers. There were a lot of them, and I'm only going to talk about some of them. If I miss one of the ones you want to talk about, Dennis, you let me know. Because I only grabbed a couple of them because there's just so many. Vampire Survivors. I already have that game. It's on mobile now. They've got a mobile version. It's out now, which that game would be perfect for mobile, honestly. So I think that's not a bad choice at all. I have not downloaded it yet, but I plan to because that game is great.
Yep, I remember seeing that. And I do have the game as well on Steam. I just have not played it yet.
You are missing out. But now you can play it on your phone.
No, I'm going to play it on the PC. It was a gift. I'm going to play it. I just haven't because I'm lazy.
Because you're too busy playing Far Cry.
6. Ride the helicopter.
Boop, boop, boop,
I like to
boop,
fly the
boop.
helicopter and use the rockets and go.
Hellboy, Web of Weird. It's a roguelite action adventure.
Oh, I forgot about that
game
one.
with Hellboy, which that can be fun. They've done it in a very comic style, which is good. So that could be a lot of, like I said, I think that'll be a lot of fun. It looks interesting. I like roguelites.
Yeah,
I
I
like
wasn't sold on that one yet.
We'll see.
That's probably why.
There wasn't gameplay. That's the problem with like 90% of these have no gameplay.
No, it's true teasers.
Yeah, they're true teasers. We did get a release date for Street Fighter 6. It's June. Tekken 8's coming out next year. No surprise there. One of my biggest things of all of them, Hades 2 is coming out. They're putting out a sequel to Hades. That's great. Hades is an awesome game. Getting another Hades game is wonderful.
Yeah, that was probably the surprise highlight of the show for me.
Yeah,
seeing the Hades 2 trailer, because I was like,
I never would have thought about there being another Hades game.
Yeah,
honestly,
I know. And then initially I thought it wasn't clicking for me, and I was like, oh, wait a moment. Oh, this is the art style. Have they done another roguelike? And then I was like, oh, they're actually continuing in the world of Hades.
Right.
Okay. Because I thought maybe they just do a like different gods. Like, let's do some Norse mythology or something.
But no, it works. And the art, and that one actually showed some gameplay, and it looks cool.
It did.
Good cinematics and good gameplay. There was an announcement trailer for Bayonetta Origins. Syriza and the Lost Demon. It's a prequel, a super cutesy fairy tale prequel game for Bayonetta. How you do a cutesy Bayonetta with a young Bayonetta, especially coming off just how bad Bayonetta 3 has been being reviewed. It's not gone well.
It sold well, I think.
It sold well, but it's...
Because it cracked the top 10 in its first month, and its first month period was 2 days. So.
Right. It sold very well because Bayonetta is a very successful franchise, but everything I've seen is pretty much considers it the worst.
Well, this
Bayonetta.
is a different gameplay style.
It's a completely different gameplay
so
style.
Maybe that helps it. Yeah, I don't know.
It's interesting. It's an interesting idea to take a character that is so powerful and then jump back to when they were a kid and when things were just starting out and making a very different, very almost kind of cutesy-esque thing. Suicide Squad, Kill the Justice League, had a reveal trailer showing Batman, and it appears to be Kevin Conroy's last voice acting credit. It might not be his last because voice actors record stuff way in advance.
It's hard to say.
But he passed away last month, and I know, like me, you've grown up with Kevin Conroy as the voice of Batman.
Yeah, just like all the animated Batmans. I played all the Arkham games that he voiced. Yeah, I mean, for a lot of us, his voice is Batman. So, and I think they handled it really like classy at the show, and just
I thought so too.
Not overly somber, but just sort of. And honestly, the little story. I've never played a Suicide Squad game, but if there've been other ones, I don't know. But it looked neat.
It does.
I thought, but again, this was really just cinematic, so I didn't know what. I liked the story, but I don't know what the gameplay is going to be like.
Right, and I have no idea because it's.
But if it's like one of the Arkham games, it's been a while. Because I think the last Arkham game didn't do very well, so
right. But the Arkham games were fun. I enjoyed the Arkham games. I only played the first 2.
Well, those are the best. Asylum and the City one.
Yeah, the one that was more open.
Yeah, because Arkham Asylum's pretty linear.
Right. But. Yeah, those were the 2 I've played some on. We got the release date for Jedi Survivor. It's March. Which has been rumored for a while now, but it's now confirmed. That looks good. The trailer looked really good. That game, the first game was excellent. So I'm really looking forward to that one. There was a trailer for an open world Dune MMO.
When I saw the trailer, I was looking at it and I'm like, this looks like Dune. And they're doing like the whole thing about the sleeper, and I'm like, okay, Dune, okay. And then they go through, and I see this stuff, and I'm like, because Dune was one of the earliest, I think it was the earliest like RTS game ever. And then I was actually getting kind of excited. And then I saw it was an open world MMO, and I was like, never mind.
That's exactly where I was on this. I was like, really? This could no.
I don't want to play any more MMOs.
I'm good.
Too bad. I mean, maybe if I got to be Shai Hulud, I would do it for a while. I want to be the worm. I just want to be a worm going around doing worm stuff.
There was a trailer for Death Stranding 2.
Oh my God, so weird.
It was like 4 minutes long.
It was all cinematic, of course.
All cinematic.
So, I mean, I'm assuming it's still going to be Postal Simulator, Postal UPS Simulator, or whatever. Did you play it?
No.
I never. It looked. I don't know, because I thought, isn't Norma Reedus supposed to like be pregnant, and then the game was like, here, carry a bunch of boxes on your head.
Yeah.
And it's like, I'm sorry, Kojima, I don't. You've gone too artiste for me.
Yeah. But it sold well.
Yep. And so they're making another one.
Phantom Liberty DLC for Cyberpunk 2077 stars Idris Elba.
Tempting, but I don't have any intention to revisit Cyberpunk. So otherwise, but they know how to stroke my poor little heartstrings.
It's interesting because it's set up more as a spy thriller type, is from the way I've heard it laid out. And it's got Idris Elba because Idris Elba is amazing. Immortals of Avium is a magic-based FPS. I can't recall seeing a game like that in a long time.
Yeah.
Where it's like magic-based. Now, what I think would be cool if it was a magic-based FPS that kind of had the Doom feel, where it's very visceral and just continuous fast. I think that would be awesome. But just the fact of its existence, I thought sounded kind of cool. Transformers Reactivate, purely a cinematic trailer. Seems kind of interesting. Seems kind of post-apocalyptic and like human soldier survivor people. Looks like they're reviving based upon the color scheme. I would say Bumblebee, but
that was my guess too.
Yeah. Could be interesting. But again, purely cinematic trailer. So doesn't mean nothing really. Horizon, Forbidden West, Burning Shores, which is a DLC expansion for Horizon Forbidden West. But what's weird is it looks like it's a PS5 exclusive for a game that's on PS4 and PS5.
Oh, interesting. Okay. I didn't catch that at the time.
I didn't catch it at the time either until I was looking some stuff up on it, and it's looking like it's a PS5 exclusive, which is weird.
It is, because the base game is not.
Right.
Yeah, very interesting.
And that
was
be
the
a mistake.
bridesmaid game of the awards. It was up for all the major ones and won none of them.
Yeah, it very much was.
Which happened to the first game, too.
Yeah, because the first game was beaten out. I don't remember which game beat it out on everything.
I think that might have dropped the year, was it Red Dead Redemption 2 came out?
Maybe.
It was something
something huge.
Maybe it wasn't that one, but there were a lot. No, it was Breath of the Wild.
Oh, yeah.
Because I'm like, Red Dead's too old. Yeah, no, it was Breath of the Wild. Yeah, I saw there was a Reddit conversation going, so what do you think? What do you think's going to cheat Horizon 3? And the top comment was GTA 6. They'll drop it that year.
Yeah. Oh, they released the cinematic trailer for Diablo 4. You know, here's the thing.
Don't you all have phones?
We do. But my phone can't make a cinematic trailer that amazing look good. I mean, say what you will about the Diablo games, say what you will about Blizzard games in general. Their cinematic trailers are just insane. That trailer was so cool. It made me want to play Diablo 4 with zero gameplay and knowing how the last Diablo game, how wrecked and terrible it was when it came out, and that they fixed it to be okay at best. But that trailer was just so good. Even if you don't plan on ever playing a Diablo game, I would go watch that trailer because it's just that good.
It made me almost excited.
It did. It's like, oh, wow. Armored Core 6.
Now that was out of left field because all From does anymore are Souls likes.
Right. I mean, it's been what, 15 years since there was an Armored Core game or longer?
That trailer was cool too.
And the trailer was cool. Again, all cinematic trailer, but the trailer was super cool. But I mean, I remember playing Armored Core on PlayStation, like PlayStation 1 PlayStation. It is one of those games that I always enjoyed, but it just fizzled and has been gone. So I'm interested to see what happens with that. And then the jewel for me was the Warhammer 40K Space Marine 2 trailer, which we've known about.
Yep, we have. And I had played the original back on 360.
Yep.
Actually, I think I borrowed your copy of it because you had the disc. It was a really fun game.
Mm-hmm. And it looks good. The new one looks good too. I'm super excited for it. I do have a note here that I would kind of like to see a game built like Space Marine, and Space Marine 2 looks like it's being built, that takes place during the Horus Heresy period of Warhammer, because that would just be cool. But yeah, no, I thought it looked great. There's a lot of good looking games coming out.
Yep.
And the fact that this is literally probably half of the trailers that were out there.
The show was like 3 hours long, and it's mostly trailers. Well,
Yeah.
aside from one speech.
Yeah. Other than the one speech. It's like, oh, we can't cancel the first speech of the night early.
Yeah. No. I think they just didn't know where their sound button was to play them off. Where's the button?
When I pulled up to go through and watch chunks of the replay, because I didn't watch the whole 3 hours because I watched the trailer separately. So I was just jumping around through the chunk of the replay. There were comments that were, I hear Christopher Judge's his speech is still going on. They just kind of shuffled him off stage, and he's sitting backstage still finishing his speech. Oh.
Well, I think we might have finished our speeches for this episode.
I think so.
Okay. Well, people can email us, eclecticgamerspodcast@gmail.com, or you can go to facebook.com/eclecticgamerspodcast and use the messenger tool, or you can support us on Patreon, of course, with patreon.com/eclectic_gamers.
We're available on Twitch, Twitter, and Instagram as eclectic_gamers.
And we'll be back in a couple of weeks. We've got the 5K next week, so
we do.
We'll be able to talk a little bit about that if we survive on the next episode.
We'll see. Hopefully it's not freezing fog.
Yes.
Like it was
not like
this
today.
morning. That would be terrible.
It would. But until then, my name is Dennis.
I'm Tony.
Goodbye, everybody.
See ya.